Hello, this is Nancy with Stamping Before Anything Else. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be going through and we're going to be showing you how to make this fun, I don't know what it is called, flip-flap card we found through Pinterest, a demonstrator from France, and I have no idea what her name is, but I do have her blog. We will have that posted, what her blog is called. And so we're just going to go ahead and make this fun interactive card. Now, something that is that this can stand straight up on its own. And we're going to do a little bit of altering. The one that we made on our Facebook Live last Wednesday, I didn't like it. We had just the whisper white, and then I stamped on it. I didn't like it. It was too much white. So we're going to tweak this one just a little bit. It's still going to look the same. We're going to have the same flower on here and the sayings. But we're just going to tweak it just a tiny bit. So to get started, I went ahead and laid out the designer series paper and all the pieces that you need. If you want to go ahead and take a screenshot of this, I'll make sure my hands are out of the way. You can pause the video and take a screenshot. This is all the designer series paper and cardstock that we're going to be using. And I have little notes on there. On the ones where we're going to be doing some cutting right here, and on these three pieces here, we're going to be doing one of them together today. Right here, I fussy cut this out already so that you guys don't have to wait around. And then I already, excuse me, cut 6 of these out as well. So I'm going to go ahead and move these off to the side. Now for the stamp set we are using, it is from the 2020 and 2021 catalog, annual catalog from Stampinup, and it is Tasteful Touches right here. Love this set. It is so gorgeous. I love the font on the sayings. We're going to be using the matching dies that are called Tasteful Label dies. We're going to be using this little flag right here. And then we're also going to be using the itty bitty birthdays. I love the sayings on these. They're very tiny and work perfect with these little flags that we're going to be using. And the only ink that we're going to be using today is the Night of Navy. All right, so let's get started. Now, the base of our card is going to be, I forgot to give you the measurements on here. Well, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, the base of the card is 5 7/8 by 4 1/8. You're going to need 2 of them. Now, we are going to be having the measurements on our blog, so you can always go over there as well. We're going to take one piece and we're going to cut the middle out, which means we're going to cut 5/8 of an inch all the way around here. So I'm going to show you. We're going to do that together. So now I found the easiest way to do this was to line it up on this side of the cutter. Now what I did is I took a piece of our tape runner and I put it on this side all the way along the edge right here. And what that does is it makes it easier for a person to see the 1/8 of an inch or the 1/16 of an inch on here. If you use it without it, it's really hard to see it. So just a fun tip on that. All right, so we're going to go over to 5/8 of an inch to this side, which is right here. Now to get started is we're going to want to take our cutting blade and we're going to want it down to the 5/8 right here. All right, so I'm going to start it out. That's about right there. And we're going to gently lay it down and we're going to push. And then we're going to cut it all the way down to 5 1/4. So that's 5/8 of an inch up to 5 1/4 there. All right. Right there. Then we're going to take and turn the paper. We're going to line it up to 5/8 again. Come up to 5/8 right here again, and it's just repeating it on all 4 sides. Okay, now on this one, we're going to cut down to 3 1/2 right here. Okay, again, turn it, line it up to 5/8, 5/8 right here, down to 5 1/4. Oops. And and one last time. 5/8 down to 3.5. And there we have our cut. Now, if you cut it just perfect, it should pop out. If not, you might have just a little hang over there. All right, so now we have our frame. Okay, now we're gonna set this aside. Now what I did on our original one, again, I said I used Whisper White for the outside, but we're gonna take, since I wanted a darker background, we're gonna be using this branch right here from our stamp set, and we're just gonna use Versamark. Now, if you want, you can always use your Night of Navy, but I always like using Versamark. It's kind of a fun, if you don't have Night of Navy ink, this works perfect because when you use the Versamark, once it dries, it looks like you stamped Night of Navy directly onto your paper or whatever color paper you have. So it's always kind of a fun little trick to do. Okay, and a couple more. We'll probably just put one there. Okay, so there we have our frame. Okay, now we're done with that piece for now. Okay, so now since I already got my flags already cut out, I'm gonna lay that aside. And we got those cut out. Again, we need just a piece of Whisper White, and I'll just show you real quick. This image is just absolutely stunning. I don't know, some people think it could be a succulent, some people it could be a flower, and for me, I'm gonna say it's a flower just because it's so pretty. But I do think you could use it as a succulent if you wanted to as well. You just need to use different colors. Okay, so now I let that dry, took my snips and just cut around the image itself, since there is no die that will cut that out. Okay, and it's really, really quick. All right, so we're gonna set that aside. Got our piece. All right, now we are going to go to our other pieces, the Night of Navy. Now, these three pieces, we are going to be scoring. Now, this one can be kind of a little tricky, excuse me. These pieces are gonna be 4 1/8 by 2 1/8. Then we're gonna be doing some cutting and scoring. So we're gonna go over to the 5/8. 5/8 is like the magic number when it comes to this card. Okay, so we're going to score right there. We're gonna turn it with the score line up at the top, and we're gonna move it over to the 5/8 again on this side, score. And then what I did is I turned it around so that the score, this long score line is down at the bottom. And we're gonna move it up to that 5/8 and do another score, okay? So your score line should be on the two sides and one on the long bottom, all right? So now what we want is we want to put a score line right here and a score line right there. So what I did is I took one of the short ends and put it up at the top, slid it over to the 5/8, took our scoring blade, and I'm going to score it down to the 5/8 inch mark, okay? So there's 5/8. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep this right here without moving. I'm going to move my score blade down to the bottom, and we're going to score up to the 3.5 inch mark, okay? Now if you go over a little bit, that's okay. No worries. No one's going to see it. And I just went over just a tad bit. Okay, so this is how it should look. And we're just going to give it a quick burnish on those three sides. All right. So now you got your bend here where we have that score line. We need to cut this whole piece off right there, okay? And this is what it's gonna look like when we're done. We're gonna cut that whole piece out. Now we're gonna go to the side where these two little score lines that we put in just to the first score line, and we're gonna cut straight up to that score line right there. Hope you guys can see that, okay? Like that. And then we're going to cut straight up again on the other side. right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to miter these corners just a tad bit, right up to that point. And basically we're just cutting a tiny wedge out of each, on each side. And there's my kitty. Okay, and we're going to do it again. Tiny wedge here, tiny wedge there. Okay, now to save time on the video, I did these other two ahead of time. So now we got 3 matching pieces, just like so. Okay, and we want to make sure we get these burnished. They bend really good. All right, so I think we are pretty much ready to put this together. Now these all came from the designer series paper that is called In Good Taste, I believe. I don't have my labels on it, but it does come in a pack of 24 different designs. You get 2 of each, and on each side are different sides, so it's pretty awesome. I love this pack of paper. It's so pretty, very versatile. Okay, so the first things first is we're going to turn our pieces over this way, because when this opens, we want this on the right side. This is going to be the front part that's going to open and close that we see, okay, the interactive piece. So deciding which paper you want on the front and which one you want on the back. So this one's going to go on the back of this piece, and these pieces are going to go on that side. So what I do is I take and just miter off just a tiny corner on here, just so it'll fit on this piece of paper a little bit better. Okay, just like that. And again, I'm going to eye it up. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just a little wedge. And if you don't get it exact, that's all right. No one's going to notice. Okay, and over here. Just kind of eyeballing how much I need to take off. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to take our adhesive and we're just going to put a little bit on each one. Okay, so we're going to flip those over and we're going to put designer series paper on that side. Next, we are going to take our base. Now, since this is the side that I want in the front, these are all going to lay like this. Okay, we're just going to have these are going to flap open like that. All right, so I want to make sure my pieces are facing the little the correct way before I adhere them, otherwise you run into trouble. Now I am going to use our tumble glue, just because it is the moving mechanism of the card, and I want to make sure it does not move once we put it all together. Okay. Now you're going to take these 2 flaps right here, bring them and line them up right up to the corners here, and the best you can. Okay, just going to give that a good press. So now this is going to go up. All right, now we need these 2 flaps to flap over, and if you need to, you can use your bone folder. Okay, now we're going to take the next piece. We're going to put glue on those tabs again, just like we did here, but the only difference is we got to make sure this tab is up, right? And then we're going to butt this right up against the other piece. All right, and for the last one, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to move these little tabs up, and we're going to put glue on the back side of these ones. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our other pieces of designer series paper right here that are 4 by 1.5. We need 3 of those, and we're going to adhere them to the inside in between these 2 flaps. These 2 flaps, and then back here. So we'll get started. we are ready to put our front on. Yay! Okay, so again, we're going to take our liquid glue, and on these other side, these little flaps right here, we're going to put tumble adhesive. Okay, for doing this, I like to do it in the direction that these are folding, just makes it a little bit easier. So what I do is I line up these corners to start off with, and I gently lay it down. Okay, and just hold it there for a minute. One thing that's really nice about this glue is it does dry pretty quickly. All right, and there we have our flap. Look at that, guys. Isn't that cool? Love it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our flower and adhere it onto the corner. Now, when you open this, it is going to open and it will kind of be in the way, but I thought it added such a nice accent. And they can leave it wide open if they want to, or they can close it, whichever they prefer. Now I'm using the dimensionals to adhere this flower, again, because I don't want it to fall off. I want to make sure it stays on really well. And I just put 3 in the corner. Now it will take some time for this to break in, but this will bend over a lot easier later once this is dried and moved around a little bit. Okay, now we're going to stamp on these little tabs, and we're going to do 3 of them, or 3 different sayings. I'm going to get my stamps out here. On my particular card, I chose to do it as a birthday set, and there's really not one that would fit on here very well, so that's why I chose to do the birthday one. It's sure to be a fun day. It's one of them that I use. It's your day is another one, and the last one I think I put cheers. Here it is. Cheers to you. Okay, and all we are doing is stamping in our Night of Navy ink. Now, if you want, you can put a different saying on all 6 of them, but to save time, I just chose to do 3. And when this goes on the back, I want to make sure that it is facing the right way, because we're going to glue the 2 pieces together. Okay, now we're ready to adhere these on. Now, what I used was the mono adhesive or the tumble glue, and all I did is I put glue on the front one, majority of it all over, and then I placed it on where I wanted it, making sure that I don't glue it to the bottom, and just laid it there. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the bottom of this one. And then we're just going to line it up, line up our tabs like that, and then give it a good press. But there we have it. Pretty simple card. Absolutely love it. It's a lot of fun. Can set it on someone's desk. Birthday card. Another thing you can do is on the very back is you could take a sheet, stamp your greeting, and just adhere it onto the back, and then you can do your writing and stuff on there. Now, I'd probably recommend a 5x7 envelope for this particular card, just because it is a little bit bigger and won't fit in our traditional envelope size. So I really hope you guys like this card. It's a lot of fun to make, and it really gives, when people see it, they're like, wow, that's so cool. So it really gives that wow factor. If you do like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to our channel for more projects like this. We also want to make sure that you jump over to our blog. We will have the measurements posted correctly. At the video, at the beginning of this video, I didn't have all the measurements. So I do apologize, but make sure you jump over to our blog for all the measurements, and that will be in the description below. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.